we are constantly flooded with these warnings. The headlines all tell us that by outsourcing our thinking to machines, we're becoming intellectually lazy.
Right.
That we're racking up this massive invisible balance of what some researchers are now calling cognitive debt.
It's a really compelling idea, but is this, intellectual laziness a real measurable thing? Or are we just seeing history repeat itself, projecting our fears onto the next new technology?
That is the central question for this deep dive. We've gone through a stack of sources, research papers, industry notes, technical breakdowns, all focused on AI's true impact and where it's all going.
And our mission today is to cut through that noise. We'll start with the fear, the whole AI makes us dumb argument, by looking at the data that usually gets left out of the headlines.
Okay.
Then we're going to pivot right into the practical side of things, looking at how the industry is shifting from just basic prompts to mastering skills like vibe coding.
And finally, we'll get into the really deep technical stuff that's changing everything. Google's big breakthrough with the Gemini 3 Pro vision system. It's moved from just seeing the world to actually understanding it.
Yeah.
You're going to leave this deep dive knowing exactly where your attention should be focused right now. So let's start right there with that anxiety. This really all kicked off with a June MIT study that heavily implied that using AI is creating this cognitive debt.
Mm-hmm.
The concern is pretty straightforward. If you offload too much of your thinking to something like ChatGPT, your mental muscles just atrophy.
And if you look back, this fear has played out, almost identically with every big new tool. We blame the calculator for killing our math skills, TV for killing reading.
And Google for making us forget everything.
Exactly. For years, we were told Google was making us reliant and forgetful.
But the arguments this time around, they feel particularly dramatic.
They do. Researchers are pointing to data that suggests IQ scores, specifically across a few domains, actually dropped between 2006 and 2018.
And the language they're using is stark.
Oh, yeah. Critics are talking about cognitive offload and this idea that our mental muscles are atrophying. One source even called social media a crowdsourced lobotomy.
I saw another that called our modern world stupidogenic, like the term obesogenic, but for thinking.
Right.
So how can we be sure this isn't just, hysterical denial?
Yeah.
That we're not just dismissing a real problem because we've seen this cycle before?
That is the right question, and it's why we have to look closer at the actual data. It's not that the IQ decline findings are, false, but they are dramatically incomplete.
Fair.
First, IQ scores themselves are. They're notoriously shaky. They can correlate with success, but they don't cause it. And of course, correlation is not causation.
So what's the missing piece here?
This is the crucial detail that almost always gets left out of the headlines. The only IQ domain that actually increased during that exact same 2006 to 2018 timeframe was spatial reasoning.
Spatial reasoning. So the ability to understand and manipulate objects in 3D space.
Exactly. And the leading theory for why it increased points right back to technology specifically, video games.
Wow.
Things like playing complex 3D titles or strategy games likely honed those specific spatial skills.
That's a huge insight. It tells us that technology doesn't just reduce our intelligence, it completely redefines the skills that we prioritize.
Right.
So if spatial reasoning is improving, that means we're actually better equipped for things like engineering or controlling robots or even complex data visualization.
The historical context totally confirms this. Think about literacy. It went from just 12% globally in 1820 to 87% today. Technological access usually unlocks learning. It doesn't shut it down.
The tools change, so what we consider smart also changes.
Precisely. Reading a book used to be a rare, high-value skill. Today, knowing how to architect a complex AI prompt for a multi-step job, that's the new high-value skill.
So what this really all means for you, the listener, is that the problem probably isn't AI itself. The real issue is that our education system, which was largely designed in the 1930s, hasn't evolved to meet this new world.
AI only makes us passive if we let it. If we just let it dictate the output without a challenge, then yeah, that's when we start racking up that debt.
So if we accept there's some potential for this cognitive offload, how can we use AI to actively build new mental muscle instead of just relying on it?
By changing those outdated learning models, we stop letting the tool make us passive. We make it a partner. And avoiding that passive debt means deliberate practice. It means acquiring real active skills. And that pressure to gain new mastery is exactly where the industry's focus is shifting right now.
Which brings us to Google. They are actively testing this. They just launched a huge hackathon hundreds of thousands of dollars in Gemini 3 Pro API credits up for grabs, and it's all focused on a concept they're calling vibe coding.
I think this is fascinating because it gets at a really common user problem. The truth is, I still wrestle with prompt drift myself.
Absolutely.
This challenge of moving past basic use of not just being a prompt parrot is a legitimate struggle for a lot of us trying to build with these tools.
It is. So what is vibe coding then? And why is Google putting $500,000 behind it?
Vibe coding is basically the definition of AI mastery. Put simply, it means turning a raw, messy, abstract idea, the vibe, into a fully working app using the AI as your co-pilot.
So it's not about one perfect prompt.
No, not at all. It's about prompt chaining, testing, error correction, iterative refinement. It's the whole process.
It's a test of whether you can architect a solution, not just chat with a bot. You have to understand the model's limits and guide it through a whole development pipeline.
Correct. The goal is to see if users can master the whole tool chain. If you can vibe code, you've beaten that prompt parrot syndrome, you're actively building those new mental muscles.
And this pressure to get new, complex AI skills is reflected in where the big players are putting their money. Let's run through a few of the big industry highlights that show this shift.
We've seen some incredible movement, especially in how resources are being allocated. The biggest corporate pivot, I think, has to be Meta. After spending a truly staggering $70 billion on the metaverse, they're now slashing that budget by 30% and moving that cash flow over to AI.
That's a huge rebalancing. It's a clear signal that capital has shifted from that long-term, expensive bet on AR and VR to immediate, high-impact AI.
Precisely. They're trading a long-shot vision for immediate, tangible, AI-driven utility. This isn't just a small tweak. It's a fundamental change in direction for them.
And the money's pouring into the foundation, too. The infrastructure is surging. Fluentstack, for example, is raising $700 million for specialized AI data centers.
And they're backed by investors like Google's Alphabet, and they've partnered with Anthropic. That tells you even the more cautious players know they need more specialized compute. The whole industry is building the roads before the cars are even fully designed.
Right. We also saw physical reality keep pace. Both Tesla and Figure AI recently released that viral footage of their humanoid robots jogging with some really impressive human-like agility.
Yeah, that was amazing.
The physical side of AI is accelerating really fast.
And we can't ignore the big architectural conversations. Jan LeCun gave a must-watch talk focused entirely on what comes after today's LLMs. He's looking at future architecture, saying that what we have now is just a stepping stone.
We also had a little bit of drama where Anthropic seemed to take a shot at some competitors for prioritizing speed over safety. The message was clear. There's a big internal debate about the ethics of moving this fast.
It just highlights how high the stakes are. The rapid pace is forcing these really tough strategic decisions on speed versus stability. So what does that huge meta budget cut really tell us about the short-term direction of tech investment?
Capital is clearly prioritizing immediate, practical AI use cases like agents and automation over those long-term AR and VR bets. This brings us right to where the real technical breakthroughs are happening. This is the engine that's driving all those new practical use cases. Google just released a full breakdown of how Gemini 3 Pro's vision system got dramatically smarter in its 4 key areas.
And this is the critical shift. We're moving from simple recognition to deep, structured, real-world judgment. Let's break down these 4 upgrades because they really define what's coming next.
Okay, let's start with documents. That's where most of our knowledge lives.
Right. So Gemini showed extremely high performance. It scored 80.5% on the Shark-CIF benchmark by turning complex, messy documents into structured, searchable code.
So things like noisy scans or PDFs with tables and text all mixed up.
Exactly. It's essentially turning static, archived information, like a 62-page census report, into a functional, usable data stream.
That's huge for researchers and analysts. It takes documents that were basically only readable by a person and makes them queryable by a computer.
And the next upgrade is spatial reasoning. This is a real leap. The model now gets a pixel-precise understanding of what it sees.
So it can output coordinates, map paths.
Yes, and crucially, it can refer to objects using open vocabulary.
Open vocabulary.
Meaning you can just say, point to the loose screw on the shelf, and the AI knows precisely where that is, down to the pixel. That level of specificity changes everything for robotics.
And that deep visual understanding then translates to the screen, right?
It does. The third breakthrough is UI and screen understanding, which the sources are calling agent-ready. This means the model can autonomously navigate a screen like a person would.
Wow.
They showed it reading a spreadsheet UI, creating a pivot table, and then summarizing revenue data all automatically.
That is automating the exact kind of complex, repeatable task that an agent needs to handle. It makes the idea of workflow automation a reality.
And finally, video comprehension. Instead of just transcribing what's said, the model extracts knowledge from the video itself. It can emit structured summaries or even working code based on what it sees. Whoa! Imagine scaling this deep judgment capability, this ability to understand, reason, and act based on what it sees, to a billion concurrent queries. That fundamentally changes how we design software, and frankly, how we think about AI safety.
And they also gave users more control over this. The new fidelity and resolution controls let you adjust a media resolution parameter. You can trade off cost versus detail.
So you can choose high res for a dense document where every pixel matters, or you can go low res for a faster, cheaper read when you just need the gist of a scene.
Plus, inputs keep their native aspect ratio, which is supposed to really improve the accuracy of OCR when you're dealing with mixed media.
But the real takeaway here is that this huge vision upgrade is about judgment and reasoning, not just seeing. This depth of understanding is reportedly why some sources said OpenAI was in code red mode. Google is making a strong push to run away with the understands the real world crown.
So how drastically will improved spatial reasoning, this pixel-precise understanding, change how we interact with future AI systems, especially in the physical world?
When AI knows exactly where things are, complex physical automation and detailed assembly tasks really become achievable.
Okay, let's bring all this knowledge back together for you. We started by looking at the cognitive debt myth. We confirmed the fear is largely historical noise, but the challenge is real. Avoiding being passive means gaining modern AI skills, which is why the industry is pushing vibe coding.
And on the technical side, we saw that the latest models, like Gemini 3, are moving way beyond basic text generation. They're achieving true, deep, real-world understanding through vision and spatial judgment. That distinction is so important. It's the difference between a helpful tool and a truly capable, autonomous agent.
We saw Meta pivot away from the metaverse and its long-term AR/VR vision, effectively giving up on automating workplace productivity through virtual reality for now.
And that sets up our final thought. What happens when AI agents, now empowered with this new real-world vision and deep judgment we just talked about, are finally able to automate the very same workflows that Meta abandoned the metaverse for? That is definitely worth exploring.
Try applying some of this yourself. Maybe build something small with a multi-step prompt this week and see what happens.